Hi, I'm Gary Merriman. Today we're going to tie a Tarpon Toad, a fly that I've been using for about 20 years down in the Keys that's proved to be a very effective fly pattern. I have an SL12S or an SL12S hook. Generally I tie them in anything from 1 to 3 O's. This is a 2-0 for tying purposes. Start with a thread. Just about all the toads I generally use a flat chartreuse thread. I don't care what color the toad is, I like the chartreuse. First thing we're going to add to it, it'll be the tail, which is a regular rabbit zonker strip, not the Magnum but the standard. And again, colors will vary and we'll get into that later. Alright, on the toad, the tail is tied inverted. Most people don't understand that, but when the fly falls, it lets this lift upwards and gives the better view to the fish, because generally he's taking it from the bottom. I'm going to wrap that to start with. You can lock it down with cement if you want to. I generally don't put any type of glue on any of my flies. I don't like the smell. And I don't know whether the fish doesn't like it or not, but I don't like it. So, tails can vary in length. That's your first step. Next, we'll take a clump of Marabou. Well, actually, I'd like to take a little crystal flash. And again, it can be any color. I'm going to use the brown with this one. Not crystal flash in this case, but it's going to be whatever the stuff is. Generally 2 or 3 strands at the most is enough. That's a mess. Sorry, this stuff's sticking to my hand here. Very little bit of flash, doesn't take much. Next we'll take a Marabou, and it's pretty simple. I just grab a plume, get it about where the length I want, lay it in, kind of spread it around the hook with my fingers, wrap it on. Pretty simple. Trim it down. Little trick right here is you got to kind of get this tight where you can get the head fairly flat and even. And, once you trim it, I'll wrap over it to make it as small or flat as I can get it. I'll generally build the body up just a little bit with the thread, try to get it a little more even. Frankly, I've got it a little bit fat towards the rear, but it'll have to work. And the fish doesn't care, just really for the fisherman. Alright, next we're going to add the head, which can be tied out of a number of materials. My original material for it was a floating poly yarn, which I still like, but unfortunately it's only available in a few colors. So here we're going to use a puglisi fiber in the rusty orange color. Generally just take a small batch of it.
Thank you so much.
Get you about 2 inches worth, make it easier to work with. I generally twist it, kind of make it easier for me to work with. I'm going to lay it on the hook, going to wrap it once, twice, and I'm going to turn it sideways. Now we're going to figure 8 it. And this can be a little tricky, just got to get used to it. It doesn't take a lot of turns to lock it down, 3 or 4 turns around.
This one is bigger than this one.
We can continue with the head. Depending on the hook size, I'll usually either put 4, maybe 5 pieces of this to make the hook head. I mean the head of the toad. Again, we're going to do the same thing. Lay it on. Wrap it twice. Put it in position. And start your figure 8.
What about just a good sort of top over flop bluefish when they're going nuts?
And what you can do, because you're going to get a little gap, a lot of times I'll just take it and, with my fingers like you would almost stack deer hair, just kind of push it back in position. Go for our third piece. This one we're going to put 4, I think. See how it finishes up. Again, lay it flat once, twice. Put your debris in there, we'll get out. Straighten it up. Go back with your figure 8.
I'll have some quality fry. Thursday night. So what's the difference between the action in this and that clouser? Not much. Well, it's gonna be a little bit.
Push him back just a little bit. And put on our 4th. After that, we'll be ready to add the eyeballs. The main reason for this flat head on this fly was to keep the fly tracking in a straight line in the water column. And it's made primarily for tarpon, but it'll catch any species. But the fish like, rather than have the traditional fly that bobs up and down and goes in and out of the view of the fish, this fly planes, or actually flies in the water, and keeps in front of the fish for a longer period of time, which lets you get more chance of a bite. Alright, next we got an eyeball, which I got one out here. If I didn't lose it already. And I may have. Oh, there she is. You can either use the fluorescent green eyeballs, which are more like shrimp. What I have here is just a black eyeball, and they're plastic. I don't want to add any weight, so I normally do not use bead chain or anything like that. All I'm going to do is figure 8 it on there.
Yeah, chartreuse, man, it's just...
Get it in position, straighten it out. And I'm pretty simple. I put a series of 2 half hitches on it.
So is there any advantage to these things you
And that's it, except for trimming the fly. Okay, trimming the fly. Try to get it kind of straight first. All right, we're going to take each side and we're going to key off the eyeball. And we're going to do it at an angle. So I'm going to cut at an angle back from the eyeball. And a lot of times you got to grab it to kind of hold it.
Which I do.
And works best for this would be like a pair of deer hair scissors, which I believe was what I got. And we're going to do, you can see that side is trimmed up. So now we're going to do the second side, the other side. Same way, key off the angle off the eyeballs. And then if it's not quite even, you can come back and it's not, and take a little off that side. And that's the Tarpon Toad. It can be tied in many colors. Chartreuse was one of my original colors that worked well. On some of them we've added some gill plates little red gill plates. This is also a finished one with a barred tail on it. This is what I call Peachy, one of my better patterns. And this too, this is the Marabou toad. This is kind of the toad too, so it's a little different style. What I tied today was your Zonker toad. And again, this is actually the original toad I tied right here. Sizes can range anywhere from 1s to 4.0s. Most of the flies I tie are going to be generally in a 1 or 2.0. I like that Gamakatsu hook, which I talked about earlier. The main design of this fly was years ago thinking about a fly that would actually hold a straight plane in the water, where conventional app flies or other type tarpon flies would tend to bob up and down when they're stripped. When you relax the strip, the fly would go down. And if you look at that, it goes out of the view of the tarpon. With this fly, I keep it in front of his face, or it tracks well on the level of the fish, whether the fish in the water column is 2 feet, 5 feet, whatever. Once you get it down and sink it to the level of the fish, you're able to track it at his level all the way to the boat, which happens a lot of times, and they still don't eat it. But that was the basic design of the Tarpon Toad.